Hello and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Alright, so I just got done watching Like Father on Netflix. It's this movie about this woman who is left at the altar, and so she goes on her honeymoon cruise with her long-lost dad.
Honeymoon suite. Congratulations. Ew, that's my dad.
I'll be back in the office on Thursday. I'm leaving early because I don't need a vacation.
Rachel. Earth to Rachel. Rachel, how are you?
I'm fine.
I laughed at all his words.
Are you going to go on pretending you're still fine with what happened the other day?
I don't really care what you think, and I don't need you or anyone else worrying about me.
It's a super cute, funny movie, so after watching a movie like this, my thoughts naturally turn to people who have tragically vanished while on cruise ships. So, since the year 2000, over 200 people have gone missing from cruise ships. Of course, a lot of these are people who just got too drunk and fell overboard, or who tragically committed suicide. But a lot of these have a more sinister twist, and they just don't get investigated properly. A lot of this is due to maritime laws, which are like laws of the sea. They were written hundreds of years ago, and they don't give the United States or any other big governments jurisdiction over anything that happens on these cruises. So it's usually left up to these small islands to investigate, and these islands don't have a lot of resources, and they get most of their money from the tourists on these cruise ships. So obviously you can see why they might not get investigated properly. So as I was thinking about doing this video, a lot of people were commenting saying that these cruise ships were the perfect hunting ground for a serial killer. And they're kind of right, and that creeped me out big time. So let's get into a couple of stories.
Tammy's mother, Bonnie Grogan, sat in a hospital bed, Bonnie not in good health, describing her daughter as a strong woman, a single mother of a teenage son, Jimmy Fleshman.
I would have trusted my life with Jimmy then. I can't say that anymore.
The then reference points to a time before Jimmy met a man from West Toledo, 25-year-old Craig Morgan. Bonnie says Craig met Jimmy through Bonnie's sister, Deb Graff. She tells us Deb used to babysit Craig and Craig's sister, Rebecca Morgan. Bonnie tells News 11 the 14-year-old Jimmy started spending a lot of time with the 25-year-old Craig. Bonnie and Lucas County investigator Tom Ross say Craig would spend plenty of money on Jimmy.
Limo rides to restaurants, to malls, shopping sprees, things of that nature.
He had, I think, 23 or more watches that Craig bought him.
Bonnie says Craig kept his career very secretive from her and the family.
He told us that he was very, very rich, and that he was associated with like 7 different corporations, but we couldn't know anything.
Bonnie says Craig and Jimmy's behavior sent more red flags up in Tammy's mind.
Jimmy would jump into Craig's arms out on my front porch, and they would nuzzle each other, and it's like, this isn't good.
There was a period of time when Tammy forbid her son to see Craig.
And what was Jimmy's reaction to that?
I think hurtful.
Bonnie tells us the family confronted Craig, saying they were done with what they called the touchy-feely relationship he had with Jimmy.
But he looked at Jimmy and told him not to worry about it. And then, before you know it, the trip is planned for us.
Bonnie says the cruise was Craig's gift to Deb Graff for losing 100 pounds. Bonnie, Tammy, and Jimmy were also invited. Despite the questions Tammy had about Craig's relationship with Jimmy, Bonnie says Tammy told her,
I don't care if Craig pays for it or not. It's a trip. We'll go.
Bonnie and investigators say Craig Morgan footed the bill for everyone on the cruise, but he did not go himself. Bonnie says once on board the ship, there is a surprise couple who joined the group, Craig Morgan's sister Rebecca and Rebecca's ex-boyfriend Robbie Pantoja. Bonnie and investigators say there were 3 rooms for the 6 people, and that Deb gave the nicest room to Tammy and Jimmy, saying,
Tammy and Jimmy would enjoy the suite more, so they were provided the suite, which, of course, included a balcony out over the water.
Of the 3 rooms, it was the only room with a balcony. Bonnie says during the cruise, everyone was having a good time, and Deb was being very generous.
Then she told Tam during the trip, if you want to drink, you can drink as much as you want, because I'll pay for it.
The last time anyone saw Tammy was when the cruise stopped at a beach in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. Her mother described a strange instant before she fell asleep that night on the cruise.
At one point, Bonnie asked Jimmy for a glass of water.
Jimmy went into the bathroom while Robbie took me out on deck and filled my glass of water. And then come back, and that's the last I remember.
She has no memory of the gathering after she consumed the water. And she suspects highly that she was drugged.
Investigators say they believe Bonnie's story.
So the next morning, the group met up at their usual meeting spot, and after a few hours of Tammy not showing up, they reported that she was missing to the front desk of the cruise. The cruise really didn't want to scare the other passengers, so they kept everything really quiet. They did search the entire ship to no avail. They did question some passengers privately. In the end, they concluded that Tammy had somehow fallen overboard. Tammy's 14-year-old son, Jimmy, was strangely unemotional during the entire thing. But the really weird stuff happened when the group returned home.
As another bizarre sight happened on the plane ride home. She says she was sitting across the aisle from Jimmy, who was sitting with Deb Graff. Bonnie tells us Deb and Jimmy were chit-chatting, even laughing on the way home. But Bonnie says that wasn't the only weird behavior by Deb.
She was busy letting Jimmy fondle her.
By fondling, you mean just kind of nuzzling up against her and holding her, or like touching her in a sexual kind of way?
He was literally grabbing her breasts.
Once back in Toledo, the family noticed Tammy and Jimmy's apartment had been broken into while they were away on the cruise. News 11 cameras were there as police investigated. Officers tell us there were no signs of forced entry, and only a computer hard drive and jewelry that Craig Morgan gave to Tammy were missing. None of the other valuables in the apartment were touched, but these
Correct.
two...
So whoever broke in seemed selective in what they took.
So basically, Tammy's mother thinks that this whole trip was orchestrated and that the group threw Tammy overboard. The whole trip was just to dispose of Tammy so that this older Craig Morgan guy could have better access to her 14-year-old son. I do not know what to think of all this, but something definitely seems fishy here. Bad pun. Eventually, the family settled with Disney, who owns the cruise ship, and nothing more is known to this day. This story is of the elderly Vietnamese couple, whose names I'm probably going to pronounce wrong, but Hue Pham and Hue Tran. And they vanished on Carnival cruise ship Destiny in 2005. The sad part is that 30 years ago, this couple managed to escape their home country of Vietnam that was super war-torn. They left there on this cargo ship with barely any water or any food, and they ended up disappearing 30 years later on this luxury cruise ship. They're on the cruise ship with their daughter, their granddaughter, and a family friend. The trip was meant as a Mother's Day present for the mother, Hue Tran. Again, I'm probably getting the names wrong. So this was another Caribbean cruise ship, and somewhere between Barbados and Aruba, the couple went missing. A crew member found 2 pairs of shoes as well as the mother's wallet on the deck of the cruise ship. So they called the daughter, who told them that she could not find her parents. Coast Guard ship was sent out to look for them, and honestly, the family has a huge problem with the way that everything was handled. But in my opinion, unless someone witnessed these people fall overboard, there's not much that can be done. I mean, they're gonna drown by a certain point, you know? Their bodies were never found, and the cruise ship offered no official explanation of what happened, although many people suspect suicide. The couple's son, Michael, says his parents did not commit suicide, and that they were in fact very excited for a trip to Vietnam to visit some of their relatives. So I don't understand the significance of taking off their shoes before they were to kill themselves. I've heard it's a Asian game or tradition. If I have any Asian viewers out there, please let me know if this is true in the comment section. But yeah, eventually the son started this organization called the Cruise Ship Victims Organization, which is dedicated to cases like this. Alright, if you liked this video, let me know, because I just might make it into a series. I was planning on putting like 10 of these stories in here, but there's just so many, I cannot fit them all in one video. So if you like it, let me know. But yeah, creepy stuff, right?